It's Sunday and I have now filmed 13 videos the past 2 days and I'm getting tired of the sound of my voice, but hopefully you guys won't be. Hello everyone, it is Sam and I hope you guys are having a great day today. I am here for a very exciting video today that I'm excited to share with you guys. I have created a brand new book tag. It has been quite a while since I've created a new original book tag, well over a year, but today I'm here to rectify that with the ultimate book lover's book tag. So as you can tell from the name, it's gonna be epic and amazing, hopefully. But I basically have a series of about 15 questions, prompts rather, that you guys can answer, and I hope you guys will all join in on the fun. But without further ado, let's get into this tag. Question number 1 is your top 3 favorite books. Now, I know how hard this is, which is why I said your top 3, because it can be very, very hard to narrow it down, and I assure you this is going to be hard for me too. My number 1 pick, I'm going to choose Fool's Fate by Robin Hobb. Out of all of Robin Hobb's books, this is hands down my favorite one by her. It's amazing how all of the storylines up to this point start to come together, and just the last 200 to 300 pages of this book are amazing. And they'll make you cry tears of sadness and happiness and joy, and it's just an amazing, amazing book. Book number 2, I'm giving to Tenet of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. This book I read last year and it swiftly became one of my favorite books. It is an amazing work of fiction, and Anne Bronte has become my favorite Bronte sister with this book, but it basically follows our young protagonist of Helen, who is a mysterious figure in this village that she lives in because she is living alone with her child. And there's a specific reason for that, which you find out through the course of the novel. And this book is amazing. It's definitely a very strong feminist work, particularly for the time period in which this was written, which of course is the 1800s, and it's just amazing. The issues that it highlights in this novel pervade even to this day, so I think it's definitely a work of timeless fiction, and I adored it to bits. And of course I have to give my 3rd favorite book to the book that started it all for me in terms of my love of fantasy, and that is Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. I read this back when I was about 10, 11 years old, and my parents had me read it, and the rest is history. Fell in love with the fantasy genre, fell in love with Tolkien's work, and that has lasted to this day. Question number 2 is your top 3 least favorite books. So number 1 I'm going to have to give to Surrender of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I read this one a couple of years ago and hated it, hated every moment of it. Did not care for it at all. I'm not the biggest, I've mentioned it before on this channel, so I won't beat a dead horse, but I'm not the biggest fan of Sarah J. Maas, and this book kind of highlights why. Her writing is not my favorite. The story I didn't much care for, just no. My 2nd least favorite book is going to Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. This is my least favorite Bronte sister, in case you can't tell, but I didn't like this book. I didn't like any of the characters, not one. Did not like one single character, didn't like the plot, didn't care about any of them, just I hated every single moment of this book, so sorry guys, just wasn't for me. My last pick is a recent read for me, and that is Nine Fox Gambit by Yoon Ha Lee. I read this one last month, hated every single moment of it. If you followed my Twitter or Goodreads or saw my video review of this book, you will know that I did not have fun while reading it. I struggled with it so much, and I'm very glad it's out of my life now. Question number 3 is a popular author that you love. I think the most popular author that I've read that everybody loves is probably going to be J.K. Rowling. Of course, I know this is like the tropey answer to give, but I really like her books. I grew up with Harry Potter. Those books were everything to me when I was growing up, and I think the last book came out when I was 22. I first started the series when I was 11, and the last book came out when I was 22, so Harry Potter definitely grew up with me, and it will always have a special place in my heart. Question number 4 is a popular author that you don't like. Sarah J. Maas, I think, is going to be the obvious answer here. I have said so many times why, but her writing and her books just aren't for me. Question number 5 is an underrated book that you think everybody should read. I'm going to say Daughter of Sevenwater by Juliette Marillier. Though she has picked up in popularity in recent years, I still feel like her books are wildly underread. She has some of the best fae stories that I've ever encountered. Her books are very, very beautifully written, and they're very touching, and they're just full of a lot of very poignant moments. You're very engrossed in the story while you're reading them. They're very much atmospheric books, and ones that I think a lot of people would enjoy, but she doesn't seem to be too popular here on BookTube, but an author that I definitely feel should be more popular than she is. Question number 6 is a series you won't finish, and then for me that was going to be the Illumini Files by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I read the first book Illumini a couple years ago, or about a year ago, I guess, and I didn't much care for it. I found it to be kind of boring, so I'm not going to continue on with these books. Question number 7 is your earliest bookish memory, and for me that's going to be my parents reading to us. I just remember reading being a very big part of my life growing up. Both of my parents are pretty voracious readers, and they would always read to us growing up. We'd have bedtime stories read to us, we would have other just stories read to us, and like it was even part of our Christmas tradition because we used to read A Christmas Carol every single Christmas Eve, and from the time that we could read on, we were expected to help participate in that. So reading has always been a very big part of my family and something that I'm very grateful for now. Question number 8 is your favorite bookish memory, and for me that's probably going to be waiting for every single Harry Potter book when they were getting released. I first read the Harry Potter books, as I said earlier, when I was 11, and then when I was 11 it was shortly before the 4th book was coming out. I think it was like that same year, the year after. So from the 4th book on, I remember we would pre-order the books and then I would wait for the postman to come because they would get delivered the same day they were released, back when Amazon still did that in a timely fashion. So anyway, that's probably one of my favorite memories because I was so excited to get those books in my hands and I couldn't wait to read them. And then the last couple came out when I was working, and I actually took the day off from work. My manager was fully supportive of this because he also loved Harry Potter, so it worked well. Question number 9 is your favorite genre to read. That should be obvious to anybody who's followed my channel. Fantasy, always love it to bits. Question number 10 is your least favorite genre to read. Contemporary. I just have the hardest time reading contemporary. Every once in a blue moon I will pick up a contemporary book, but it's few and far between. I think of the like 5 I've read, I've actually liked 1. So I just have a really hard time with the genre. I think it's because when I like to read, I like to be able to escape from the current world that I'm living in, and I'm very much an escapist reader. I guess that's why I like fantasy and why I like classics, because it took place in the past. And so yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of contemporary. Question number 11 is to name one difficult or important work that you are proud to have read. For me, I'm going to go with Bleak House by Charles Dickens. If you've ever read Dickens, you'll know he's a very verbose reader and he can be very dense, but I still enjoy his works. But Bleak House is probably the most difficult of his books that I've read, but it's an amazing work and I can definitely see why it's considered and hailed as one of his masterpieces. The way that he weaves all of the various plots together at the end is amazing. It's also one of the only book by him that features a female first-person narrator. But the book itself is amazing. I mean, once you've gotten through it all and you've read the whole thing, you're kind of like blown away by it almost. Like it takes you a while to kind of let it sit and sink in and digest through it. So it's probably one of the most difficult books that I've read so far, but one that I'm very glad to have read. Question number 12 is your favorite childhood book. I have a couple that I'm going to name. You can list more than one because sometimes it's hard to choose, isn't it? The first one is going to be Little Cloud. This is one that my dad would always read to us, and he would give all of the various characters a bunch of fun little voices, so I always enjoyed that one. I also always liked Pickle Things. This book is really fun and ridiculous, but in a great way. I also like The Little Old Man Who Couldn't Read. I don't know what it was about this book, but for whatever reason I found it engrossing and entertaining, and it made me cozy. Like it felt like a good fall read. See, apparently I was a mood reader even back as a child. And then the last one is Snowy Day. I love this book. I used to love it when he would read this one to us because I love snow even as a kid, and this book was just a lot of fun. Question number 13 is your favorite book cover. I'm going to have to go with the 20th anniversary edition of Assassin's Apprentice. They're currently releasing these. I'm hoping each year. Royal Assassin just came out, so they better be doing Assassin's Quest next year. But this book is gorgeous. It comes in this slipcase right here, and it's hardback, and it features the buck blue cover, which is the shade of blue for the royal family, and it has this embossed silver, I don't know what you call it, stamp thing, which features the charging bucks, which if you've read the book is a fairly important imagery. It's the symbol of the Farseer family. And inside we have an artist rendition of Buckkeep, which is amazing. And then the pages are gilded silver, and it comes with a bookmark. So this is one of the most beautiful books I own, one that I love and cherish, and I cannot wait to get Royal Assassin. Question number 14 is an ugly book cover. I'm going with the original American version of the Live Ship Traders trilogy. I'm sorry, but they're just so ugly. There's like cheesy fantasy covers and there's like cringy fantasy covers, and for me this one's cringy. Like, what is going on with Brunette Fabio? What the hell? Like, is that supposed to be Brashen? Because that is not how I imagine Brashen looking. Nope. Question number 15 is to name a diverse book that you think people should read. I'm going to go with The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. This is a fantasy book that features characters of color. It features LGBTQ characters. It's written by diverse authors, and it's a really, really amazing book that kind of melds both science fiction and fantasy, and one that I enjoyed quite a bit last year. It takes a little bit to get into the book itself, to get invested in the story, but at some point you do get kind of hooked and invested in it and the characters and what's going to happen, and it's just an amazing work, and it definitely took the fantasy genre and kind of made it something new, and I absolutely love it, and I cannot wait to read book 2, which is nominated this year for the BookTube Best FF Awards once again. And the final question is, why do you love to read? I like to read for many reasons. I think the number one reason why I started reading as a kid was kind of to escape, you know? You want to escape into a world that's all new and go on adventures with these characters and experience things that you may not experience in your actual life because, you know, you're not always going to run into a dragon out in the street. But I think I've always kind of used it as a way to escape and kind of escape from the realities of our world. Our world can be harsh, and yes, sometimes fantasy worlds and other books that we read are as equally harsh, but they feel different because you're not necessarily... Though you're kind of invested in the story and you feel like you're there with the characters, you also know that you're not there and you're still safe. And I think that's probably my biggest reason why I like to read. But I also like to read because you learn. You learn so many things through reading, not just actual facts and history, because I like to read history nonfiction books when I can get my hands on them, but you also just learn how to be a better human. You learn more compassion and empathy. You learn about situations that are different from your own, people who come from different backgrounds from you, people who have different life experiences from your own. And all of these things teach you to be a more compassionate and empathetic human. And I think that's why reading is so important and why I myself love to read. All right, guys, that is it for the Ultimate Book Lovers tag. I hope you guys will all be joining in. I would love for everyone to do this tag. So if you want to do it, please do it, because I think they're fun questions and I hope you guys think so too. But I am going to be tagging a few people. They will all be listed down below, and I hope you guys will all join in on the fun. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys all have a beautiful day. Until next time, bye.